Hey guys, thanks for joining me. So this is day 2 in sort of like the calisthenics. I'm going to start calling it like a hybrid workout program, calisthenics hybrid, because we're going to not just be doing calisthenics, obviously going to be incorporating other aspects of fitness, from cardio to kettlebells to sandbags, other things like that, weighted to normal calisthenics. So let's say it's a calisthenics hybrid workout program. Today we're going to be doing day 2, which is going to be our volume day with some added, potentially some cardio afterwards as well. I end up doing a cardio session afterwards. It was a 10K on the air bike to see how fast I could do it. I was talking to someone who watched one of my previous videos on the air bike, and they were talking about the sort of time that they were getting and what time they were aiming for with a 10K, and it got me a little bit inspired to give that a go. So I was quite happy with that, and it was brutal workout. Got my heart rate up pretty high, so it was a pretty effective workout. So today we're going to be going and doing the volume day, which I'm going to go for the bodybuilding style one for today. So for any of you that are like me, if you know you've got a new program and you're trying to you'll spend some of the day maybe thinking about what you're going to do, or you're looking forward to getting home and I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do this. So I've been going over in my head how to best balance this out and how I want to sort of program it for today. This may not be something I do long term, might just be something I do for a couple of weeks or maybe for the first couple of sessions, but I'm just trying to work out how the best way to do it. And this is what's good about having sort of a little bit of flexibility in training. I know some people like everything to be rigid, but sometimes it's nice to have a little bit of flexibility, and then in some cases you get a little bit of a better reaction to it because it kind of feels like it's a bit of a new stress. I know some people might be worried about progressive overload, but we can still have little changes within a actual workout and make little changes here or there while still moving in the right direction, having at least a structure of progressive overload, increasing intensity, volume, reps, so forth. So there'll still be some form of thing, but so I was going to be doing, say, a pull-up variation, a row variation, handstand, push-up, overhead press variation, push-up or dip, step-up lunge, sort of squat, leg curling, hyper-extension leg raise, and maybe a bicep tricep thing. So today I was just trying to work out what's going to be the best way to do it. So I was thinking, do I do a pull-up and a row and then kind of like superset back, and then because when we're thinking of bodybuilding, our primary goal is to build up fatigue in the muscle, get the volume in, try and, if you need to, you can take it to failure if you want. If you're doing this sort of thing, especially this many exercises, I wouldn't recommend going to failure every single set, especially when you've got a structure like this, when I've got another workout in 2 days' time. I don't want to burn myself out, but if you want to go to failure on the last set will be, I think is fine to do that. You don't want to burn it out every single time, especially with all these different exercises. So I was thinking, maybe do I do a pull up and then go into a row, because then there's a natural progression of kind of like doing a drop set where I don't have weights where I can do 100 kilos and then drop it to 80 or 60, but I can do a pull up and then I can then go into a row, and it's a natural progression down, and I can really build up that fatigue in the back muscles. I was thinking possibly doing that, and then I was thinking, well, how do I then incorporate, maybe if I want to do a handstand push-up and a dip, like I've got something that's a vertical press into a horizontal press where one is more shoulder dominant and one is more chest dominant. Am I really going to be getting that same fatigue? The fatigue will build up in possibly the shoulders, at least the front delts and the triceps, but maybe not in the chest. How do I balance that? And then how do I balance with what's going on with the legs? So in the end I was thinking, I don't know if I'm going to go down that route. And then I was thinking, well, I might do this, and I might do a push and a pull or upper body and sort of flicks that. And I was thinking, well, how do I do that? Because obviously I've got the camera set up here for you guys, but how am I going to do pull-ups and then go into a handstand push-up? Because you'll see the view of me doing pull-ups here, and all you're going to see is a pair of legs going up here. So I've also got to think, how do I balance maybe doing a superset in obviously how you guys are going to be able to view it as well. So that has to, you may not have to think about that as a consideration of how you organize your sets, but I've decided what I'm going to go for is a pull-up superset with a dip. So I can then focus again. I know I did these ones here, but again, I'm getting more work here. I'm happy with that. So then I've got a horizontal push and a vertical pull. So I've got that little bit of variety there. Plus I'm going to be doing handstand push-up. I find handstand push-ups harder than dips, but I find pull-ups harder than rows. So I'm going to have a little bit of a hard exercise to an easier exercise to a hard exercise to an easier exercise, and I can balance it out instead of doing pull-up and handstand. They're both hard. Dips and rows, even though dips can be quite challenging, they're not as hard as, say, doing a row. So at least I can try and space out my energy reserves, because even though they're different muscles or opposing muscle groups, there's still a little bit of carryover. and there's still systemic fatigue as well. So I was thinking of, we're gonna do pull up, straight into a dip, then rest 3 minutes, 3 sets of that. Anything between 8 and 12. I'll see how it feels. This is the first session of it. We'll see how it goes, whether I have to make it harder or whatever it is, we can go down that. I'm thinking with the pull-up variation, I've got 3 sets. I might do 1 pull-up, I might do 1 neutral grip, I might do 1 chin-up. Have a little bit of variety and sort of push myself. Then it's going to be obviously the dip. Again, I can play with it. If I find that I can do more than 12 dips, I might be able to. After doing the pull-up, I might, again, go really slow, maybe get some slow negatives in there to really feel it. We'll see how it feels in the set. And again, be open to adapting your workout as it goes. And then I'm going to be doing a handstand push-up. I haven't done handstand push-ups for, other than when I did a set with a review for the weighted vest. It's the first time I've actually done handstand push-ups maybe for about 4 to 5 months. So I can imagine my numbers have probably come down quite a bit. So I'm probably just gonna do normal body weight ones, and I'm not even gonna elevate my hands, I don't think. I'll see how I feel with that. We'll see how it goes. I might find the first set I can bang out 12, no problem, or maybe I might not get as much depth as I would like. We'll see how it goes. And then we've got the row. Again, I'm gonna try the rows on, I've got these new parallettes. Again, I've got a review of them on the channel. These are the Gravity Fitness XL parallettes. So again, you can change the height of these. They got different heights. So it's a new toy. I want to play around with it and maybe do some sort of like the neutral kind of grip inverted rows. I think it'll be quite nice. And then I was thinking, that's my upper body. So I've got 2 supersets, push pull. And then for the legs, I'm thinking legs are quite hard to fatigue. This is what we're trying to do in this body muscle. We're trying to fatigue, build up fatigue and get volume in there. So I was thinking with the legs, because your legs are stronger than your upper body, the exercises don't tend to be, I don't think, as challenging. How do we make it more challenging? So I was thinking I'm gonna do a step up. Again, whenever you're doing high rep, always get your heart rate going as well. Sometimes that can be a factor, but I'm gonna do a step up, straight into a lunge. Well, I'm gonna be using a Bulgarian split squat. I'm gonna be using the Base Bench Pro. And then, I don't know whether to do the right leg, step up into the right leg Bulgarian split squat, or alternate and move one to the next. So we're still supersetting it, so the legs get a little bit of a break, I'm not sure. And then I'm gonna try a Nordic curl. I haven't done Nordic curls for a really long time. So these are just gonna be eccentric, slow, try and slow down negative, and probably maybe a push up to try and get my hamstrings going. I haven't done them for a long time, so I'm not expecting anything good there. And then superset these. With these ones, again, it will be superset, then 3 minutes rest. This one, I'm gonna play around with it. I'm gonna say maybe 2 minutes, but if I feel like I'm not building up the fatigue and I can bang out more than say 12 reps, I might drop the rest period down to 1 minute. So we're really building up that fatigue and making it more challenging. So that's another way in which you can create that progressive overload. Another way you can make your exercises or say workouts more challenging is manipulate your rest time as well. So you don't recover as hard and you go hard again. It builds up that fatigue in the muscle. I'll see how I feel, whether I'm gonna be doing hyper extensions and leg raise. We'll see how that goes. Don't know about biceps and triceps. I'm not huge on direct arm work. I'm not against it. I just feel like when you're doing your pull-ups and your rows and your handstand push-ups and your dips, there's a lot of arm work going on there. So I kind of feel like, I don't know if it's really that necessary, the extra time and energy going into it. We'll see how I feel with that. But again, maybe some bands on that. We'll see how that goes. So that's sort of the roadmap for today. So for any of you that are actually following me on this and are planning on doing the workout, that's what's going to be the roadmap here. And sort of like, again, it's a new program. So it's going to be, I'm still feeling everything out. And again, this is the fun. Exercising or working out, especially in this sort of way, is meant to be fun. And obviously by mixing it up and switching up your program every now and again can make exercise feel more fun and exciting. And that's what it's meant to be. We want to make it so exercise doesn't feel like a chore. I know, like in previous workouts or previous sort of things I've talked about in the past, my working out can seem probably a little bit boring, because I'll pick like maybe a full body workout and I'll do that same workout 3 times a week, and then I'll do that for a couple months. And I know lots of people would probably find that really boring, and that's fair enough. So with this one, this is why I'm thinking about trying new things and being a little bit more flexible with different things that I do and try and incorporate, because like I said, I'm lucky enough that over the years I've managed to gather different bits of kit, and it seems a waste to have all this stuff and not utilize it. So, and like I said, sometimes it's always nice to try new things as well. It keeps it a little bit fresh for the mind as well. I know when I used to train, especially with like powerlifting and stuff like that, when I used to do that, I was really regimented. Like I couldn't go back to that sort of style. Like that was like strict reps and sets, strict weights I was lifting for the day. Sometimes it was 6 days a week, dedicated in there for 2 hours. Now it's like an hour's enough for me. Like I've got other stuff I need to do, but like I'm not as much into that as I used to be, and that used to be a lot more demanding, and I used to train a lot more to failure. So God knows how I used to train like that I used to, but that was still fairly limited. It'd be like a back day would be, I don't know, heavy deadlifts, 7 sets of 3, let's say. Then I'll do like 5x5 with weighted pull-ups. I've always done pull-ups. And then it would be, I need to get a thinner band so I can do that rotator cuff stuff. And then I would be maybe a little bit of like something to do a little bit of rep work, sets of 10. Might have been inverted rows, might have been bent over rows. Like it was sort of different rep ranges within one workout. But just for the deadlifts alone, it would take me like 15, 20 minutes to warm up and then get to my working sets. Because at the time, I was playing around with, I was doing 7 sets of 3 with 227 at one point. And that was sort of weights I was playing with. At around 80, 85 kilos, I was really, really good at deadlifts. And then like the pressing days would be heavy bench press, maybe 7 sets of 3 as well. Then into weighted dips of 5 sets of 5. And then maybe like, I don't know, push-ups or ring push-ups or something for like high rep work, just to sort of get that going. Everything was regimented. And I loved it at the time, but now I wouldn't go back to that sort of training. It's, you know, I want to get a bit more, try a bit more, definitely dedicate more time to doing cardio. And that's the other benefit of this sort of workout too is, you know, I could do these exercises in straight sets and really try and focus on trying to get good at each individual exercise and try and push myself with them. But it would just take far too long. You imagine doing 3 sets of each of those exercises and then resting 2 to 3 minutes in between every single set. It would probably take an hour or more. And there's a lot of waiting around, where at least if I can superset the stuff, again, makes you feel a bit more athletic. It's gonna get you your heart rate up more, blood pumping, and that'll be quite good. Get more done in a shorter time. I was half tempted to see if I take the ring off, if I could maybe pair them up to like a push-pull leg. But I was thinking by the time I get to the leg, like, you got a thing called, when I did my PT course, you got this thing called peripheral heart training. And this is why like the workout like CrossFit Cindy is challenging, even though you're doing not exactly high reps, 5 pull-ups, 10 push-ups, 15 squats. These aren't numbers that people would normally struggle with. But the reason why it's challenging is because of this theory called peripheral heart training, which basically is you're making your body have to shunt blood from one part of the body to another. So first, if you're doing your back, it's doing that. Then you're doing your pushing. So now it's having to force all the blood from your back muscles, pulling muscles into your thingy. Then you go down to the legs. The legs use up a lot of energy. They need a lot of blood, a lot of oxygen. Now you're having to fuel your legs. You're doing a lot of reps of legs. And for any of you that just do high rep leg training, gets your heart going. You then have to then go back up to the upper body. So into the pull-ups, into the pull-ups. So now the heart has to work even harder to pump all the blood that was sort of in the legs, or more of it from the legs back up to the upper body. So again, if you do that kind of upper body, lower body, upper body, lower body, something that wouldn't normally be as taxing ends up being more taxing because the heart has to work harder from shunting all the blood from one part of the body to the other. Hence why it gets your heart rate really high. So I was thinking I could combine all 3 of those. What are you doing? I shut that window for a reason, and you still managed to get free. Cheeky. Yeah, so I was thinking of doing that, but then I find that I reckon my leg training would suffer because, again, legs when just doing bodyweight stuff is going to it's going to need more work. If I started doing some goblet squats, maybe I had a little bit of weight, I can really load the legs. But I think with legs, this sort of stuff, doing bodyweight stuff, I think you're best just really hitting it and getting a lot more work done. And then I think, yeah, so I went for what I was going to go for. So we'll do a practice pull-ups. So I think for the warm-up, because we're just doing, first variation is going to be pull-up and dip. My warm-up is just, I did a little bit of a squat stuff, but I might just do some more direct leg stuff when I'm going to do it, because I'll end up spending maybe 20 minutes doing upper body, and then I think I'm just going to go straight into legs, and I might need to do a little bit more direct work into legs. Maybe I can do it while I'm on my rest, get my legs moving a little bit. But because the first variation is just going to be a pull-up and a dip, I'm just going to do a few warm-up sets doing the pull-ups and the dips, maybe do some chin-ups. I've got these little grips. Let's see if I can find them. Here they are. So these are Kenzui, I think these are version 2 max something. This allows you to attach to the bars, and then I can do neutral grip. As you can see, I've just got a nice straight bar. So pull-ups and chin-ups, great. Can't do any neutral grips. Get a set of these, and then you can hang these on, and then I'm going to do neutral grips. And they've got a different version. This is obviously the max version, but it's got this nice little pad, so you can rest your hand on it, and it feels really, really comfortable. So they're quite nice. I've got a review on them if you want to go check that out on my channel. But yeah, they're quite nice to add in. Don't cost much, but it's a nice little variation. Hello. So yeah, so similar to like my previous workout with the strength one, I'll do a little bit of banded work just because I've got a bit older. It's nice to be able to do some, if you really think about it, in your day-to-day, you're not really spending a lot of time actually using your pulling muscles. You might spend a little bit more if you're doing your pushing, depending on what you're doing, but you don't spend a lot when you're really doing any of this. So I do a little bit of band work just to get those muscles moving, and I can really focus on what's going on with my scapula, again with the bands like that. And then I did a little bit of chest today, just sort of, I haven't really done much of that, so I was like, do a little bit of that just to get this sort of the shoulder movement, get the synovial fluid going around. I don't need to do a huge amount of reps, but just enough to get this moving. And then it's going to be the warming up is going to consist of doing the actual exercises that I'm going to be doing, so I can prep the muscles for the load or the tension they're going to be taking, and sort of get focused and really focus on the movement that I'm going to be doing, what I'm going to be expecting my muscles to do. So for me, that's that kind of preparation that I'm doing, and that'll be the same in virtually every workout. Might be different if came in and like it's like, let's say I'm doing this and it's in the winter and it's really cold in here. You know, the increase of risk of injury might get up because you've got cold muscles, cold connective tissue. So spending a little bit of time on the air bike just to get, you know, the muscles a little bit warm, get the actual temperature up a little bit, get a little bit of movement going on. That could be really handy, but at the minute, I'm actually quite warm, quite hot. So again, in the conservatory, it's quite warm in here. So temperature wise, and obviously I've been fairly active today anyway. So I've been doing stuff all day, working all day, lifting and moving stuff. So I'm still fairly limber from that. Just want to do a little bit of direct work there. So I managed to program this into my watch earlier. So all of this should be ready to set me up for reps and sets and rest times. So what we'll do is we'll crack on with that. I've got to adapt it onto my watch, and I think then we'll go on to and start off with the first set. I just need to sort out my phone. Right, sorry about that. So basically I forgot to upload the workouts from my phone onto my watch. So this has all been programmed in. Let me know what I'm doing, sets and reps and rest time, so we can be efficient with that. So we'll start off with a set of pull-ups. Again, we're working at 8 to 12 pull-ups straight into the dip. So we'll do chest to bar, and we'll just try and go nice and slow or controlled, see how many we can get with that. Right, let's begin. Again with this one, as I did with the other ones, sort of hands on top, get the grip, pull in, get the lats activated straight away, squeeze the shoulder blades down. That was 9. Ooh, that was 9 there. So that was me leaving sort of like 1 left in the tank. Might have had 1 solid one in there, but I don't want to go to failure, especially on the first set. So this is feeling quite comfortable with what I'm doing. So I'm gonna start really slowing it down to try and make it harder. We'll go for 9 there as well. We'll have to try and keep track of what I'm doing here, actually. Actually, no, I've got it on my watch, haven't I? So that'll be down as a 3 minutes rest. So I can try and maximize that. So second set, I want to go into what am I doing? Go into the neutral grips. Again, as you fatigue, pull-ups will be harder, neutral grips slightly easier, chin-ups easier. So as you slowly form with kind of fatigue, you go to a sort of easier one. But now I'm doing this sort of pull-ups, I want to be able to get a little bit of variety in. Whew. Again, it says my heart rate isn't that high, but I'm talking. But yeah, so it's a good little thing. You can't go wrong. Again, any of you wanting to do a home workout, home gym, you can't go wrong with, say, a pair of parallettes and a pull-up bar. If you don't have space or money-wise for one of these, then see if you can get yourself a little door frame pull-up bar. They'll do the job. If you're worried about like damaging your door frame, the only ones I've had which are pretty good for the door frame was and I've got a review of them on my channel, but they're called Dynamic Allevia, and they're kind of little hooks, and you hook onto the door frame like that. They don't seem to cause any damage to the door frame. So for any of you that are renting or are conscious of things like that, they're pretty good, but they're a little bit pricey for that reason. But you can get like one of the cheap nasty door frame ones, 15, 20 quid. Like if you haven't got the money for a set of parallettes, that's fine. Get yourself a door frame pull-up bar and a set of gymnastic rings. People seem to think gymnastic rings are only for people that are advanced, but you can switch them around, manipulate them a little bit. Just opens up more exercises you can do. Door frame pull-up bar and a set of rings. Again, pull-ups, chin-ups. Use the inverted rows to do, use the rings to do inverted rows. You're sorted there. You've got push-ups, you've got dips now. Wouldn't lean away with them, just in case. Depends on what's going on with the door frame. But the more exercises you can do with just that, and then it takes up no room. Again, you can take the door frame off with the rings, put it under your bed if you don't have space. So yeah, that's pretty good. So getting ready for the second set. So 3 minutes seems to be a good little time where you get that recovery, but you're not dawdling for too long that you get out of the zone for it. So we'll see if we can try and get similar numbers here. But at the minute, the numbers aren't on the top of my priority. My top priority is good form and really trying to focus on squeezing and really focus on the muscles that are being used here. And the rest will do the rest. I only ate that time, but you're getting that accumulative fatigue. That's me leaving maybe a rep or two in the tank, which is, I'm happy with. I could feel it in the muscles. That's the important thing. Got 9 there. That felt pretty good. Felt nice. And again, some of these exercises I haven't done for a while, and it's quite nice to be able to do them again. It feels like a new stimulus, which is great. These sort of new stimuluses can possibly lead to new growths, but different things to focus on. So they felt really nice. And with that neutral grip, especially those, I'm probably coming higher up than what would be a traditional chest to bar, because it's just easier to get that position. My chest was nearly touching that bar, and obviously these are hanging down from the bar by a considerable gap. So, you know, they might help my other chest to bar, working on ranges I wasn't working on before. So that feels quite good. And the dips, I haven't done them for a while. Monday session was the first time I've done dips, other than when I was doing a few dips to show off these for the review I've done for them. I haven't done dips for maybe 3-4 months again. Like I said, I've been doing, the last 3 or 4 months, literally just been doing my pull-up, push-up, box jump weighted version, and then CrossFit Cindy, which is basically the same exercises again. So I've been quite rigid with that because I wanted to get good at the Murph. So I thought, well, if I get stronger at these anyway, that's my bread and butter, but they'll have carryover to doing these. And if I end up doing the Cindy, I'll get that efficiency and maybe go for a Murph. And eventually I'd like to be able to do a Murph weighted. You're meant to do it in a 9 kilo vest. I'd love to be able to do it, because something to be able to say, wouldn't be able to probably get a very good time. I could try, but that would be something to go, you know, I managed to do a full Murph and with a weighted vest on. That'd be quite a good little achievement. It's something to work towards, that sort of things. You know, this is why I'm more orientated for myself. And if I coach people, what I try and profess on here on YouTube is, yes, it's good to train to try and look better, to have more confidence, you know, how your clothes fit and changing your body composition and all those sort of things. It's good. However, I think longevity of training is far easier to stick to if we at least make performance something that we're focused on. It may not have to be the forefront, for me it is, but if you focus on performance, I think you get far more enjoyment out of your training, because you've always got something you can do. You can always better your last workout. You can set a little goal, like how far you want to, just being able to run a 5K without stopping. Maybe you would walk and then run. That's a target. Okay, you might be able to run a 5K and you couldn't do that before. That doesn't mean that you've lost a load of weight and now you've got abs. So you might think that your training means nothing because you don't look a certain way. And the way that you look, or how much you can weigh on the scale, can fluctuate quite a lot. And we should judge or value the time we put in to more than just how we look, you know, because there's people that look great that aren't particularly healthy or particularly happy, or, you know, they might just be driven on trying to build muscle. Muscle can take time to look a certain way. And obviously how we view what is healthy now, or what we see as a desirable body, a lot of the people that are out there that are showing us these desirable bodies are taking performance enhancers. So we'll never look like that, even though they profess that if we follow their program and follow their diet, we'll look just like them. We won't. So a lot of us have kind of a deluded idea of what is an attainable body and what we should be happy with and what would be a good reflection of the hard work that we put in. Where it's great to like build muscle and look better and healthier and feel more confident, and that's great, especially for people's mental health. However, if you drive at just, you know, never been able to do a pull-up before, And now suddenly you've put in all the work with the inverted rows and negative and all that sort of stuff, and now you can finally do a pull-up. Like, that should be something you should be very, very proud of, that isn't linked to how you look or what your clothes feel like or what it looks like on the scale. It's an achievement of something that's based on performance. And if you keep working on getting a pull-up or getting a good 5K or a 10K, or maybe you're just trying to do a CrossFit Cindy, the byproduct of that is that you might lose weight or build muscle, and then you feel more confident with that. So again, that's why I try and get into it, is performance is a great thing to try and pursue as well, and people should be more open to considering having that as something that they should focus on, because it can be, it's a fun way to train as well. Suddenly when you hit a goal, hit a road mark or something that you've put up, it can make you feel really good, make you feel positive, and it can keep you motivated to keep you training, which the longer we can train, the healthier it's going to be. So consistency. Right, that's giving me a bit of extra rest. So it's a useful rant. Right, let's go. I can really feel that. Those chest to bars, man. For anyone that just thinks pull-ups just work your lats, try switching up and start moving on to chest to bar, because you really feel it in more of your back, but your mid back, you really feel it. Got 10 on there. Sweet. Right. So that felt pretty good. The other thing is we have to think of as well is, don't just think session by session. Think accumulatively over the week, over a month. So you may not have the best session, you may not get as many, say, pull-ups as you would want to. Let's say we use me as an example. I only did pull-ups, 48 hours ago, where I was doing weighted pull-ups, sets of 5. There's an accumulative feel. I kind of feel it there when I was really coming down. I could feel a slight stretch, a slight feeling of DOMs in there. Not enough to hamper performance, but there's a feeling in there, you know. 48 hours ago, I was doing that same movement. So kind of think of it as like this. You work out, you peak your protein synthesis, you start growing, you're getting bigger, you're getting stronger. As it starts to dip, you hit it again. That's what we're trying to do. Just keep it going. That's why I like full body, because full body allows you to increase your frequency, which is really good for learning movements. And it's also really good at keeping your protein synthesis elevated for longer. So for any of you, you don't need to know the science that much about it, but just think of protein synthesis is just muscle building. While that's elevated, you're building muscle. Just think of it as in like that, as simplest terms you can think of. That's what we're looking to do. But if you're someone who's natural, so you're not taking any performance enhancers, your protein synthesis, or how long it's elevated for, isn't as long as some people's who are using those stuff, which might make their protein synthesis elevated for far longer. Hence why a lot of those enhanced bodybuilders are able to do one chest session a week and do 20-25 sets, because their protein synthesis is elevated for longer, which means that muscle is being built for longer. And because their recovery is better, they're able to recover from all that volume. Where if you're someone who's natural, you may not be able to recover from all of that volume. And even if you could, your protein synthesis might only be elevated for, I don't know, 24, 36, 72 hours max. So you work out on Monday, by Thursday, maybe you're not building muscle anymore for that particular area that you've stimulated. If you're enhanced, you might work out on Monday, you might still be growing until Saturday or Sunday, or even the Monday after. So that's why if you're natural, Full body is great because it allows you to get in more frequency. So if I'm, you know, working out and my protein synthesis is elevated for 24, 36 hours, let's say, by the time mine starts to dip, I'm hitting it with another workout. Time it comes back up, I hit it with another workout. So I'm keeping it more elevated more often, leading to hopefully more muscle growth. If all other variables are taken into account, you know, adequate stimulus, adequate recovery, good sleep, good nutrition. There's more factors that are just going in than what workout program you're doing. So, next superset is going to be handstand push-ups with inverted rows. So I'm going to be taking down this because that's the only wall, sadly, that I can do handstand push-ups on. And then I've got the bars for doing rows. Thing is, I'm gonna have to move you guys down, otherwise you're not gonna be able to see what I'm doing, so bear with me. Right, that should be a little bit better. This is the problem again with the sort of space that I've got, is can't always get the right angle when I haven't got the distance that I want to be able to do certain things, but we'll work with what we've got. So next one again, handstand push-ups and rows. So we're gonna be hitting vertical pressing now, the dip. Even though some people classify it as vertical with the dip, I think because the muscles that are being used and recruited, it's going to be, people might see it as like a horizontal pressing, or the same muscles are going to be responsible for that. So now we're going to be doing some overhead pressing, and then we're going to combat that with some horizontal pulling to kind of finish off potentially, not if you do chest to bars, but like really hit the rear delts, the rhomboids, lower rhomboids, lower traps, mid traps. So upper and lower rhomboids, I mean rhomboids, and then you've got the mid-lower traps, maybe the teres major, all these different muscles we can try and finish off that might get neglected or not recruited as much when it comes to the pull-up. So with the handstand push-up, I know I'm probably gonna get a lot of people that are gonna criticize the way that I do handstand push-ups, and they have a legitimate reason for doing it. However, it would be a legitimate case if it was why I'm doing handstand push-ups. So for most people, they will say do handstand push-ups with your face facing the wall, start here and walk up. And I've done these before. However, I don't find them as comfortable. They're more time consuming to get in and out of, and you end up losing, it takes a bit more out of you just to get into position. And if something goes wrong, my arm goes funny, my back goes funny, whatever, to get out of it, it's far more risky. I'm more likely to hurt myself getting in and out of it. So I literally either go into a headstand or I go from a handstand and I just pop up. So I face this way. I might not get as deep as some people might want to, or the angle of it might not be what. I understand people saying you walk up the wall because that's the way in which you go to help learn the freestanding handstand push-up, or just to do just be able to do a freestand handstand. I'm not remotely interested in handstands. I don't think, and again, if you guys are interested in that and it's a skill that you want to go for, I'm not hating on anyone that do it. If you've got the time and you want to dedicate to it, go for it. But for me, I don't think it's the payoff for it is, I don't think it's there. What you have to put in and what you get out is, I don't see the point in it. And to put it in as basic terms, other than doing the handstand, to practice the handstand, I'm never gonna walk on my hands. That's what my legs are for. I'm using the handstand push-up because I think it's a great exercise, a calisthenics exercise that really builds stronger shoulders, stronger traps, stronger triceps, especially overhead, tricep work for the long head. I think it's a great exercise for doing that. I'm only using it for hypertrophy and strength gains, not remotely interested in wanting to learn the freestand. The amount of time you have to put in isn't, the ROI, return on investment, is just not there. And then it's one of those ones you have to, I think I watched Tom Merritt, Bodyweight Warrior. Like, if you don't keep putting in the time, maybe an hour, 2 hours a week, you quickly lose it. It's probably because you're not meant to be walking on your hands, but there's no point. When I can spend 15, 20 minutes once or twice a week doing handstand push-ups, and I can build bigger, stronger shoulders than someone that's practicing the handstand. Just to balance. To me, it's a showy movement that you can show off people, look what I can do. That makes no, again, it's not worth it for me. If you want to go and do that, more power to you, but it doesn't interest me. So for any of you asking, that's the reason why I do it. So I'm just going to crack straight into these. My shoulders feel pretty good anyway. We'll see what the first set feels like. Don't know whether to use the parallettes to get a bit of extra depth, but we'll see how the first one feels anyway. Right, let's see how we go. So that's 8 reps there. I'm quite happy with that, considering I haven't done handstand push-ups for quite a while. I'm, yeah, pretty happy with that. Bring this in this way. We'll go into the handstand push-ups. Sorry, handstand push-ups, into the inverted rows. Definitely prefer a narrower grip for these. A few times I've practiced them. I always, don't know what it is, pull-ups, dips, chin-ups, all of it. Prefer a narrower grip. Maybe a bit further down, I think. That's better. Yeah, I felt better going into like tabletop. So with those inverted rows, you might have noticed, have my legs straight, then I move for tabletop. With your legs out straight, it is harder to do it. But I think because these parallettes are a little bit high, I'm coming more of an incline with them, and it's kind of pulling me out of a position I want to be in for the row. Instead of it feeling like it's really horizontal, I'm kind of like that. So going into that tabletop enabled me to sort of make my body a bit more horizontal to be able to pull from, and it felt more comfortable. So I could possibly go down a level and see how that feels, but it's a nice height for doing dips. So maybe next session I'll do a little tester, see what it feels like going down one level. Might feel a bit more comfortable, but just going through the tabletop felt really nice. Again, we're not here trying to get PBs. I'm not here to try and hit a certain strength level. We're not here about doing the strength. It's just going through the motion, really trying to focus on what's going on with your scapula or your shoulder blades. I'm really trying to focus on that scapular retraction, but also trying to keep them depressed. So for any of you who don't know, let's say I'm a set of shoulder blades. If our shoulder blades come up, which can happen if people were weak on a dip, sometimes they come up like this. Or if you're doing overhead press, you really should push up the scapula. It helps support the joint. That is elevated shoulder blades. When you pull your shoulder blades down, so really down, if you're doing, say, chest to bar, you're doing a pull-up, you really squeeze them, you bring them down and get them tight, you're using your lower traps to help with that. That's scapula depressed. When you have your shoulder blades come forward, which is what people recommend if you're doing most of your press-ups really, but sort of your planche ones or your lean ones, they'll get you to bring them forward, okay? This is protracted, forward, and then retracted is pull back, retract. Pull the shoulder blades back. And a lot of time, if you're doing a lot of your back movements, they'll be recommending your shoulder blades retracted and depressed, back and down. And again, for many people, this could be something that could be a weak link for them with regards of their pulling, is that because then they don't have strong scapula or they don't know how to use their scapula, they find it hard to activate and use their back muscles. So something like rows or pull-ups, they get sort of stunted with how far they go because most of the pulling is done with their arms, or a bigger portion than what it should be. So they end up getting stuck. And this is why in the first video I talked about is the importance of not just doing these movements and just trying to get on with it, hit a certain rep, lift a certain weight, so forth. Really focus on every single time getting better with the form. Because if you get better with the form and fine tune it, your movement efficiency will get better, which will improve your strength. It will take less out of you because your body is more efficient at using muscles and energy, that it'll take less energy to do the same movement. So you're more efficient, you'll have more strength, and you get more work done. So always focus on trying to improve your form. For me, when it comes to my handstands, I have a tendency for my arms to flare, but I find it more comfortable having a slightly wider grip with the thing. If I come too narrow, it doesn't feel as comfortable on my shoulders, so I come a little bit wider, and then I have a tendency of my elbows to flare. So I've got to be conscious of my arms flaring a little bit. The other problem as well is the wider you go, the shorter your range of motion. If you come in narrower to fully extend, your range of motion is now longer. If I go wider, it's not as far of a range of motion now to go out to locked arms. So it's about finding that balance. That'd be one way in which you can create progressive overload with the handstand push-ups, is increasing your range of motion by potentially bringing your hands in. But it's just trying to get that comfy position. Yeah, I'm quite happy with that. Always got to try and take little wins in your training. Like I said, and don't always compare it to past workouts all the time as well, because it's not always helpful. Like my friend had a video of me years and years ago, and I was a lot lighter then. I'm a lot heavier now, and obviously the heavier you are, harder calisthenics is. I was probably about 80 kilos, 13 odd stone maybe. Now I'm over 14, 90 kilos. I can't always perform as well. So here it's like I'm fully protracted, and then I can pull in to retract and pull from there. But sometimes once you get better at doing that, you can do it in one movement. It's very smooth then, and pull. And always remember, any of your pulling movements, I've lost count. Squeeze the bar as hard as you can. You're gonna get more out of it, a stronger grip, and it'll just make you perform better. But yeah, I had a friend make a video of me doing handstand push-ups. Whether they were the best form, maybe not. But I managed to do 25. And now I'm here doing a set of 8, with maybe a couple of left in the tank. But it is what it is. I've already done pull-ups. I've already done dips. There's always a knock-on effect of energy overall and energy in those individual muscles as well. But now, regardless of what I did in the past, I've now got a target of, I did 8 last time. Can I make those 8 better? Can I increase the range of motion? Can I go slower? Can I have more control? Can I feel more scapular movement so those 8 become better? That's one way in which I can improve myself. Or could I, increase a rep? Now I'm on 9, then I'm on 10. And I get to a point where I'm doing sets of 12 for 3 sets. I'm like, okay, should we dump a weighted vest on? So I can always try and get back there. I can try and improve again. There's always that room. So sometimes comparing yourself to what you were like before can sometimes be a good motivation, but sometimes it can detract you of what's important. So as long as you're putting in the effort and you're being smart with your training and you're consistent with your training, you'll get back to where you are. And like I said, I'm a lot of the previous goals or achievements I have with, say, doing some sort of calisthenic stuff, I was a lot lighter then. So I'm gonna find it easier doing those sorts of stuff. Where now I'm heavier, I might not get as many reps, but have I got more strength? Possibly, we'll see. But I'm always trying to get better And like I said, I'll look back at previous videos and I'll go, oh, these pull-ups were a bit shit. And like now I look at my pull-ups, they're better. You know, and a few times I've gone to the gym and people have said like, your pull-ups are awesome. And it's like, you know, obviously makes me happy. It's a compliment and it's someone's recognizing, you know, the hard work of what you've put in, that there is some sort of visible show of what you've done. And I'm not looking for compliments, but it's nice out of the blue when you're chatting to someone that, you know, they compliment how you do something and have you got any tips for them? And that's why I like doing pull-up beginner guides and tips on how to do pull-ups or chest to bar. And if you're interested in chest to bar, I've got a whole playlist on chest to bar pull-ups. Highly recommend checking out if you want to go down that route. They're a great exercise, and like I said, I'm feeling those rows. I've got a bit of fatigue in my mid back because those chest to bar, and again I did chest to bar weighted ones. So there's always a carryover effect. Not sure how much, I've got 5 seconds. Here we go. And one mistake I made, this is something you guys don't do what I did. Make sure you stay hydrated. If there's one way to reduce your strength, it's dehydration. It's something crazy, like a couple percent dehydration can impact like your strength by like 20%. Whatever number it was I heard years ago, like hydration is so important, and not just drinking water, but taking stuff like Celtic salt, because it's got electrolytes in it, it's got the magnesium, it's got the potassium, sodium. All of these things are important for your salt balance and your hydration. Staying hydrated is really, really important when it comes to your performance, because it really does make a difference, your hydration. Right, so as we always say, last set, best set. Let's see how we go. Try not to breathe heavy then, because the mic went right into my mouth, and I doubt you guys want to hear my breathing. I'm sure it'd be really, really loud anyway, but you don't realise until you got a mic on, you're like, damn, I'm a goddamn mouth breather. Especially when you're talking loads, which you're gonna do when you're filming a video. Right, come on. So really focusing on getting that squeeze in the mid back. I think that was 10. I'm not sure if it was more. Win-win. Right. Now that's done. I can get my lovely whiteboard back up. I think we're then moving on to legs, which for any of you that have done high rep leg training, is not fun. It's not nice. It's tiring. It's tough. But you got to do it. Again, this is something I've talked about in the past, which is it's a potential weakness of calisthenics, and that is your leg training. Because, you know, there are some like die-hard calisthenics people out there. You know, everyone's got their tribe, everyone's got their little group. I get it, you know, but, you know, my job, what I see as my job as a PT, someone that makes videos on YouTube, is I'm here to give you my opinion based off knowledge or experience that I've gained over the years, so I can save you guys time, is highlight to you guys that there are pros and cons to different forms of training. You know, someone's con might be a pro, like, and this is going to be subjective, but you don't want to blindly follow someone else's opinion when it comes to training, because that might not work for you. You know, if you've got access, you're on Facebook and someone's selling some kettlebells online for a good price, and you've seen videos of people talking about the benefits of adding in just kettlebell swings, let's say, and you listen to someone online saying, only do calisthenics, you don't need anything more than calisthenics, you know, you can still do this with calisthenics. Like, that may be true for them, but don't disregard other modalities of training because some stranger on the internet, and I'm aware that, you know, I'm a stranger on the internet too, but I'm not preaching people should only train a certain way. I train a certain way for a particular reason for me, but I understand that there are benefits to other ways of training. I talk about the benefits of what I train because I enjoy that sort of training, and those are the sort of why I train that particular way is the way I promote to train elicits a certain response, and that response is what I'm after. There's going to be people that are after the same response to me that will appreciate that sort of way of training, but I don't tell people, do not do this, do not do that. That's a bad way of training. Don't ever use weights. There are plenty of people out there that talk about doing calisthenics that say you don't need weights, don't do weight training. They're probably people that have never done weight training. I've done weight training. Like, if you want to get as strong as you possibly can and pack on as much muscle as you possibly can, stuff like deadlifts, back squats, overhead pressing, bench press, bent over rows, like your strong list, 5x5. You're going to get very strong. You're going to build a lot of muscle. Sorry, that's the fact of it. Can you build as much muscle just doing calisthenics? Possibly upper body. If you don't go into weighted, I think it might be a little bit harder, because although you do have progressive calisthenics, so again, moving to unilateral work, so, you know, instead of doing, you know, 2-arm pull-ups or push-ups, you go to 1 arm, or you move to kind of where you're playing around with leverages. So again, instead of doing like a push-up from here, your hands are here and you're even, you bring your hands closer towards your waist, because now there's a more torque created at the shoulder. Like, you have to work harder to be able to do a certain movement. You know, you're putting yourself at a mechanical disadvantage. So to be able to do the same movement, your muscles have to work harder to be able to do that. You know, there is that element of training, but it's far easier to put a weight vest on and put 1 kilo on every single week to create your progressive overload and get stronger and stronger that way than, am I leaning this much as I did last time, or did I lean a little bit less this time? You know, if you're training, like when I did my 1-arm chin-ups, did I hold my hand there, or did I hold it there, or did I hold it there, or the resistance band I'm using, did I grab it? Like, it's much harder to replicate that, and the gaps between each progression are far bigger when you could just put a weighted vest on, and I know exactly how much weight I lifted last time, how much weight I'm lifting now, and how much weight I'm planning on moving in my next session. It's far easier to track it. So upper body, I think you can build a really good body with calisthenics, especially weighted calisthenics. Lower body, there's no comparison. You know, back, lower back, you know, you can do your hyperextensions, but to really overload it, I mean, a deadlift, the risk and reward, you have to weigh that up. If you're not a powerlifter, you don't really have to do it, but doing your back squats, trap bar or hex bar deadlift, a little bit easier on the back, like that's a lot of load that you're putting on there. I don't think there's a calisthenics version for it. They talk about bridging, but it's not the same. And again, people that try and convince you of that, I think are, you know, just trying to sell you into the idea of you should do their way of training, and that's not the most honest thing to do. So we're going to move on to the leg circuit that I've got. I'm really not looking forward to this. Hopefully I will be in shot when it comes to the Nordic curls. Let me just see if I need to erase this up a little bit. So if you guys haven't seen it, this is the Base Bench Pro. I like this, it's pretty cool. I've got the normal base bench, but I had a few issues with it. I do need it down a little bit more. And this one is it's far superior, way more comfortable to use. Yeah, I'm not expecting much from my Nordic curls. If you don't know what Nordic curls are, they're basically like hamstring curls. So you put your feet under there and you lower yourself down and you try, if you can, to pull yourself up with your hamstrings. they're brutal, they're hard. I'd like to be able to get to a point where I can lower myself under control and pull myself up in one go. It's a goal, it's something to work towards. So, leg one, I've got programmed into my watch here. This is, where are we, leg workout. So on here, we're gonna be doing step ups, straight into Bulgarian split squats, straight into leg curl. We're gonna be rotating that. The rest period is going to be shorter. I might switch it to 1 minute. I've got 2 minutes now because there's a little bit less time. I'm trying to make it more intense. If I drop it down to a minute, it's gonna make it harder. We'll see how it goes. Again, we're trialing this sort of stuff. Hopefully my head is still in shot. If not, I'm still here, don't worry. Right, here we go. So see how we get on. Definitely again recommend doing these barefoot. Really spread your toes. For any of you that don't know, I do all of my training in barefoot shoes. I've got a pair of Vivo barefoot shoes over there. I've got a pair of Vivo barefoot trail running shoes. I've got a pair of those toe shoes as well. I did recently get some Ultras, which are meant to be like zero drop, wide toe box, but they've got a little bit of cushioning, because obviously majority of the running I'm doing is road running, and they did say that can take its toll on your joints a little bit, so a little bit of cushioning can be quite handy. So it's Ultras, Enchiladas, I think they are, whatever they're called. Obviously not the Mexican wrap, but something like that. I'm not sure how many that was. I was talking. So the thing with this one, it's hard to do sometimes, but try and limit pushing off with this leg. I know I'm doing it. The only way I can do it is if I just go on my heel, but you don't realize how much you do it until you pay attention to it. And sometimes holding on to something, so you've got something, especially with me on this ankle, I've got bad ankle mobility. I think maybe that's why sometimes I push off on here, because otherwise I'll lean back. But I do that kind of rocking. But spread your toes, drive your big toe in there, into the ground, and drive. All right, straight into the Bulgarian. This is what's nice about this bench as well. You've got a nice hard surface on here, and then your foot goes on the little roller, which is nice compared to the bench I had before, which was just flat. This will roll, and obviously your foot moves as you're going down, so it will help limit that bench, what you're leaning your foot on, impacting your going up and down. Where if you did it on this, you know, your foot's stuck, it's rolled, it might not as comfortable as well. That can impact it. And on here, you've got a nice little pad, so your knee to come down, so you don't bash your knee for one. And if you want, you can rest down the bottom and then drive up. This makes it a bit more comfortable. I mean, if I get to a point where I want to make these harder, they've got these little pins down here. Again, I don't know if you can see it. There's only so much I can get into shot, but on either side, they got 2 pins, and they're there for attaching resistance bands. So if I wanted to, if I want to make these harder, get some resistance bands, put them on my shoulder, and then it becomes far more challenging. And I will do a video in the future about the benefits of resistance bands and why more people should use them, because what people don't realize, and I think there was someone on Instagram, I think they were on, Mindful Mover, I think it was. I think it was called accommodating resistance or something like that. And see if it gets in the way. Ooh. Oh yeah, I can feel that in my hamstring straight away. Ooh. Yeah, this is going to be a slight lower. I'm definitely not strong enough to do proper ones yet. But once you identify a weakness, you've got something to work on. So I've got a goal. You know, could be feeling it in my hamstring because the muscle's already pre-fatigued. Oh, I feel that. Might be because they're pre-fatigued. You know, would I be better using an exercise that I was weaker on or was more challenging? Do that one first. Could possibly do that and then finish off with the other two. But I'll continue what I'm doing this session first, see how it goes. But that's, again, something I can look at and think, not able to do those Nordics as well as I want. My hamstrings are feeling quite fatigued already on what something is already a very challenging hamstring exercise. Would I be better doing it first? Possibly, because the other thing is as well is I'm doing single leg stuff. So by the time I get to the hamstring curl, my right leg has been getting a bit of rest while my left leg is doing its squat. So now I'm going into this dual movement exercise, dual leg movement, with one leg that's more fatigued than the others. Again, this is something we can look into when doing it. So maybe next time I'll start with a hamstring curl. We'll see. But then that might make my other two movements worse. We've got to weigh it up, see how it feels. That's what's nice about this is first session in a long time. I don't really have any goals other than just hitting some good reps, feeling the form and feeling like I'm trying some movements I haven't done for a while and seeing how they feel. I'm getting movement in my muscle, I'm feeling tension, I'm going to be making progress regardless. So I've got nothing to compare it to at the minute. This is a brand new, fresh slate. So you then have to weigh it up with, you know, give this a go. What do I get more overall from? The split squats and the step ups or the hamstring curl? Well, really, I'm going to be getting more from the step up and the Bulgarian because I'm utilizing more muscles. I'm getting more overall stuff done. But by doing that, my pre-fatiguing the hamstrings, if I did this one first, then I would then get more out of my quads and my glutes because they're having to pick up the slack. You know, there's no right or wrong. So this is the fun thing about training is we're experimenting with our body, we're pushing our body, and we're feeling different things of it. And go along with it. As long as you're making progress, as long as you're feeling it, as long as you're trying, you're focusing on improving your form, your movement, you're gaining. So this one, if I don't talk, it's because of this time I'm going to try and keep counting the reps and really focusing on the form. Like here, again, if you lean further forward, you know, you might feel it a bit more in the quads. If you kind of have a feeling where you really focus on trying to pull back, you're going to get more glutes. Again, this is what the glutes are doing, pulling back that way. Same with the hamstrings. So if I have that kind of movement as opposed to just squat up, which might feel more quad, try and think about clawing the foot behind you while driving up. And then you can give the glutes a little bit of a squeeze at the top. Tap your ass with your finger if you need to wake it up and know what that feels like when it's tense. Sometimes I'll rub my leg up here to try and contract, to try and keep my stability, so I can focus on trying to limit sway, especially on the eccentric. I'm trying to get that eccentric loading. Again, bodybuilding, a big thing for bodybuilding and hypertrophy is time under tension. So if I go slower on that eccentric, not only are we stronger in that phase where the muscle's under tension while lengthening, we're stronger in that phase, but I can really increase the time under tension and get a lot more, get more fatigue, more tension in the muscle. This is what we're after for this session. We're not after, you know, maximum reps, maximum weight. We're just trying to get the volume in, get the time under tension, and really build up that fatigue in the muscle. This is why it gets your heart rate up, because you're doing 10 reps, but it's on each leg, so it's 20. Then you go to here, so you're really doing 40 reps. It's the one thing that sucks about unilateral training. You push yourself, you go really hard, and you realize you got to go and do the same again on the other limb. You're like, oh, fuck. So here again, it's just coming down slowly, just trying to tense my glutes the whole time, lower myself down, and then drive up like I'm hooking behind me. Coming down, and I'm driving up. Really feel these, huge fan of these. And again, with this sort of bench, I don't know how many I did there. It don't matter, I can feel my legs burning, and they feel fatigued. I'm good with that. But yeah, I've got a review on this if you want to check it out. I've also got a review of the original, the base bench, and I've got a comparison video between the two if you want to go and check them out. It's kind of an unboxing as well, and showing you how to set it all up. If you need that sort of information, it's all on there. I like doing product reviews because, again, like new toys, get to experiment with stuff. And sometimes you'll try something and you're like, why wasn't this made sooner? Or why didn't I think of this? Like little subtle things, and you think, that's a really cool idea. I really like that. And you get to, you know, try it out. So I might just do sets of 5 with these, because at the minute this exercise is hard. So for me, it probably is in the strength range, and I've pulled my hamstring before. It's not nice, and I want to keep training. That's another thing you'll realize as well. The longer that you're training is, it's all well and good having all these different workouts, the perfect program, training consistently, all this different stuff. But one thing that people often neglect is things you can do in and out of your training to prevent injury, because you could be training consistently, solidly, really, really good, perfect nutrition, perfect recovery, and you get injured and you make progress, let's say, over a course of a month. You get injured and you can't work out for a couple of weeks, a month, a couple months. Not only do you lose the gains you made, it sets you back. Then, depending on where you injured yourself, you have to do the rehab work to be able to build it back up, because that potentially could be a weak link for you for a long time. Maybe forever, I don't know. But depending on what the injury is, but it might become a weak link, or it's going to take you a lot of time to get it back to where it was and then start progressing again. So when you are training, when you're designing a program, when you're doing all these different stuff, think also injury prevention, because an injury will set you far back further than you can make progress with your training. So if you're doing an exercise like that, I'm feeling that, whether it's because I'm pre-fatigued, whether because that's just a challenging movement as it is. Maybe I've got I know I have tight hamstrings anyway, and I've pulled my right hamstring before. Twice actually. So that's potentially a weak link for me. If I push myself further and go beyond where I am, I'm just increasing the risk of injury each time. And if I then injure myself, I'm not doing any leg training. I might be able to do some single leg work on this stuff, but this is now going to suffer. You know, if you're doing, you know, really deep dips, and it's really irritating your shoulder, yet someone's told you that dips are brilliant, or you have to go below 90 degrees or whatever to do a proper dip. But every time you do dips, you feel it in your shoulder. Stop doing them. Change the form. Maybe move from bar to ring, or maybe just take a break from dips, or widen your grip, whatever it is. Try something new where there's no pain. And if it's still continuing to give you pain, stop doing it. If you just keep forcing it through, all you're going to do is create an injury, and then it's going to push you far back, push you a lot further back than what you really imagine will happen. Through what? So, especially if it's something like your shoulder, Like you screw your shoulders up, you pretty much can't do any upper body work, especially calisthenics. So look after yourself and put a lot of importance on, you know, injury prevention as well. Whether that means an adequate warm up, whether that means a good cool down, whether that means proper exercise selection, proper resistance selection, whether it means you're tired and really you need a day off, rest, whether it's you're mentally drained from maybe lack of sleep, you've got a lot of things on your mind and you're just not concentrating. Because so many people just go through the motions when it comes to working out. They're not paying attention. Something goes wrong and bang, they've got an injury. Like when you're doing your workout, when you're doing your exercises, your focus should be on your form, on all the muscles that should be being recruited, and obviously getting better with your form, but you should be focused on what you're doing, not just going through the motions, going from point A to point B. Just focus, because if you don't focus, I could be go up and down, up and down, up and down like nothing, not concentrating on it, and suddenly my knee goes outwards, and now I've just pulled my knee, you know, strained a muscle, you know. I'm doing box jumps and I'm not concentrating. I'm just jumping up and down willy-nilly, not thinking about what am I doing, and I slip, miss the box, hurt myself. Or I jump back down and twist an ankle. And now I ain't training. So mental focus is also important. So because I've been talking, I don't know how many reps I'm doing, but it don't matter. I'm getting myself to the point where I'm getting very close to fatigue, to failure. At least, so that was that there. Do a low eccentric. There's two different types of failure. People just go, oh, train to failure, train to failure. Two different types. You've got technical failure, which is basically where your form breaks down. You know, you'll see people where they're doing push-ups. They get to that point where you start seeing, you know, back slump, half reps are coming in, chest hardly touching the floor, elbows flaring out, like they're ugly reps, but they're still able to crack out a few more extra reps. They've hit technical failure. They're not able to maintain form, technique, it's broken down because they don't have the strength, the energy to maintain it throughout the movement. They've hit technical failure. Really, you should be trained to technical failure, especially on compound movements, because with compound movements, there's more muscles, more joints involved, potentially more risk, more resistance involved. You want to go to muscular failure, it's far easier to do that on isolation work, it's safer. You've just got one muscle, one joint you're focusing on. If you're using a machine at the gym, it's easier to go to muscular failure. It's where you literally burn out, you can't do another one. You've gone beyond technical failure and you're just doing it, and you just feel your legs just fried, you know. There's a lot of different things on training the failure as well. I used to be one of those ones where I trained to failure all the time. And I was a big component of that. You know, if you didn't train to failure, how do you know that you've pushed yourself? How do you know, that you've gone beyond what your current limits are? Again, with the simple idea of adaptation, it's the idea of if I do more than what I did before, or I force myself to do more, I create a need for there to be adaptation. How do you do that without going to failure? Which is a perfectly reasonable argument. It makes sense, but obviously there's more and more stuff coming out now that you don't need to go to failure. Something like leaving 1 to 3 reps in the tank is enough to still stimulate a response to then elicit growth. The only thing is that's more important the closer you go to a higher resistance or lower rep work. However, if you're going to higher rep work, maybe 15, 20 plus reps, the need to go to failure becomes more. Because the reason being is you have muscle fibers. When you're lifting heavy, you use your metal units or your muscle fibers from smallest to biggest. Okay, but those type 1 muscle fibers, your slow twitch muscle fibers, they're not strong enough to lift these heavy loads. You need your fast twitch. You've got your type 2A and type 2X, if I remember. I think one of them is the one that's kind of the middle ground, and depending on how you train, has the way to adapt one way or the other. But one is purely power, strength, okay? To activate those, we're lifting heavy, or we're lifting explosively. However, if you're lifting something where you're doing 50, 20 reps plus, you're not lifting something that's very high when it comes to the percentage of your 1 rep max. So how much you can lift maximal. Let's say 100 kilo deadlift, let's say. 70 kilos really, but closer to 80% and up. That's where you're really activating your fast twitch muscle fibers. You need a lot of strength. That's where you're lifting probably no more than 5 reps, 3 to 5 reps. Sometimes closer you go to 1 rep max, again, 1 rep, 2 reps, so forth. That's what it's called, a 1 rep max. But the further you go down to that percentage, the less likely you're going to recruit those fast twitch muscle fibers, or at least fatigue them. So again, when you go to failure, you burn out those other little muscle fibers, those motor units, and then you get to the point where you then burn out the big ones because you've just built up that fatigue, that failure, where those other muscles and motor units aren't strong enough to keep going, so other ones kick in. That's why you have to go to failure when you're doing a higher rep stuff. But that's again why I prefer doing the low rep stuff, because I'm activating those fast twitch muscle fibers. I'm getting that myofibrillar hypertrophy. And not only that, not only are you activating those fast twitch muscle fibers, but when you're doing the strength training, your low rep work, your high percentage work, that's where you're going to be making those neurological adaptations, really hitting your central nervous system, your rate coding, your muscle synchronization, all these sort of things that make you stronger, not necessarily making you bigger, but makes you stronger. You get those adaptations too. So that's the workout. So overall, we've pretty much hit the body from every angle. We've got a push and pull, both horizontal and vertical. We've also got a mixture of leg work done with a focus on hamstrings to a mixture of the two, but progressively more challenging, and doing them in a tricep with limited rest really builds up that fatigue in the legs. My legs are still feeling it from Monday session, and I'm also still feeling it from the air bike session. You get quite a pump from doing the air bike. So like now, I'm gonna be doing a little bit of cardio. I might end up just doing, again, a quick little workout on the air bike. I'm pretty fatigued, this is a pretty long workout. Again, I'm making it longer, not intentionally, but obviously I'm talking through it. As we go through the videos, there might be less talking, or at least I'll be more efficient with talking and working out or warming up. But obviously, this is still fairly new. I'm going through everything that I'm doing, and I'm trying my best to give you as much information you can actually use. I'm not just trying to chuck things at you that you can, I'm hoping the information I'm putting out there is stuff that you can use in your training, or whether you're working out with me now, whatever, that you can go through it, and this is stuff that you can utilize. And I'm explaining the reason why I'm doing certain things. You might watch certain people on YouTube and you don't know why they're picking a particular exercise, why when they're doing their program, they're putting them in a certain selection, why they're doing a certain number of reps, all these different things, why are they resting this long. I'm trying to put that information out to you. I want this to be as informative as as entertaining as it can be. I'm hoping you guys like this sort of form. I mean, this might be something that you just watch while you're having your breakfast, or while you're eating your tea. Maybe you're working out with me, whatever it is. Hopefully you guys find it interesting. If I get good enough feedback from it, I will just continue going with this, and hopefully there's people that will keep out with it. And maybe I might switch up and do a different program or do different stuff. That'd be something where it'd be quite cool if you guys could get involved down below and let me know what sort of information you like, what bits you found interesting, what bits you didn't find interesting. There's no right or wrong. I'm trying to make content that you guys enjoy and you guys actually want to watch. Because at the end of the day, I'm doing this workout whether you guys are going to watch it or not. But obviously there's little things that I am changing or adapting so I can then film it, make room or so forth. And obviously explaining things, I'm going to be taking more time than I would normally take. But I'm happy to do it if you guys are enjoying it and it's bringing value to you. So yeah, so we're going to see how this goes for the next couple of weeks. I want to try and see whether I can possibly, if my sessions go on for too long, and I don't like eating too late anyway, whether I will start going, okay, I'm gonna just do cardio on these days, and then I end up doing like 6 days in a row, and I just try and manage my cardio that way. So it doesn't always have to be an intense cardio, it can just be an easy 10K, but it doesn't fatigue me for like volume day to day. Or maybe I'll do cardio tomorrow instead of doing it now, and then I'll see how that impacts my power training, and I might then want to add cardio on the end of my power training, because the power training might be a little bit shorter. Or I might find doing the power stuff here gets my heart rate up pretty high anyway, like 140, 150 anyway, especially if I do it as a circuit. I might think, bugger, I can do this power stuff, and then I can try and combine a few different exercises, and I'm kind of getting a cardio workout already, so I don't need to actually add in a dedicated cardio. This is what I'm going to be experimenting with, and then I might then add in a run on the weekend. We'll see. This is what I want to try and get through to a lot of you out there, is for most of you that are going to be watching YouTube, or most of you that are working out, this isn't a profession for you. You're not doing this for a job. So many people get caught up on what's optimal. You know, I have to train in this optimal way. Like, unless you're an athlete, you don't need optimal. What you need is something that is going to keep you consistent, something that is fun to do, something that gets you exploring different modalities of training, and something that like isn't a chore, that's programmed in the right way, that's going to allow you to progress in the direction that you want. We don't need to work with optimal. If I want to take an extra day off, cool. If I don't want to do a cardio here, I'm going to do a cardio there. As long as I'm getting in at least 2 cardio sessions a week. I may not get 3 in 1 week. I'm happy with 2 cardio sessions a week. That's a lot more than what I used to do. And if I make those cardio sessions productive, hell, that's more than enough. And like I said, doing these other workouts, especially in the course that I'm doing them, I'm using my body. My heart is pumping, my heart rate's up, I'm breathing more, I'm still getting benefits. So let's not try to overthink it. Let's not try and like get obsessed with the 1%. We don't need to worry about that. Let's just focus on getting stronger, getting fitter, and enjoying our workout and being consistent with it, and being open to adapting it however we should. Like, I might have family down this weekend. Might not be able to train. They might come Friday instead, so I might have to do a quicker session in case someone comes. So be it. Be open to changing it up, because like I said, we're in it for the long haul. We're not training just for the summer, just to get a beach body. We're here to train for longevity. So we've got years at this. I'm only 34. Hopefully I've got another 50 years at least, I hope. Fingers crossed. So I've got 50 years to be training. So, you know, we'll go from there. So guys, I'm going to leave it with you there. See how I feel. Cardio today or tomorrow. We'll see. I don't know what time it is. Ooh, it's 10 to 7. Might go and eat instead. Eating sounds more appealing than cardio right now. I could do cardio tomorrow. All right, guys, I'll leave you with that one, and I'll see you in the next video. Next one is going to be power training, and I will try and do some cardio with it as well. But we'll see how we program this. So I'll see you for the Friday workout. I'll see you later.